Welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant. Last weekend we attended Origins in Columbus, Ohio, and one of my purchases there was a new game that actually I found out it hadn't even been shipped to those that pre-ordered it, but I was able to purchase a copy at Origins from the Decision Games booth. They were selling them there, so I've played in the past a previous iteration of this system. This game is called D-Day at Iwo Jima. It is a solitaire-only game, but I have played D-Day at Tarawa, which was actually designed by John Butterfield, whereas this game is designed by John Yost. Same system. There are some changes to account for the conditions found on Iwo Jima versus some of the other games. There's also a D-Day at Peleliu, and then there's D-Day at Omaha Beach. So very excited about this game. 19th of February, 1945, 3 different Marine divisions assaulted the volcanic island there at Iwo Jima. It was foreseen as a way to put pressure on the Japanese homeland, where they could build a base where long-range bombers could take off, and also other supplies and forward bases could be built. But they got it wrong. They didn't understand exactly what the situation was on the island. I think they had conflicting reports. One of the things I wanted to point out, because this picture is so great, and I think it explains exactly what one of their first problems were. As the Marines hit the beach, you can see they had these 12 to 15 foot tall volcanic ash, almost walls. Very soft volcanic sand, very difficult to traverse. It made what normally is a fast moving amphibious landing force in the Marines it slowed them down to a very slow crawl. So that's a picture showing that. Really great job. Decision Games does a great job of making those historical connections. One other thing I wanted to say about this game, it was on, like I said, it was on pre-order. I saw it a couple of months ago, and I decided that I wanted to buy a copy at Origins. My game, D-Day at Tarawa, comes with a paper map, which I thought was fine, frankly. I think the game cost me $65 when I bought it almost 3 years ago. But this game comes with a fully mounted map board, so that paper map has been replaced. And with that really nice mounted map board, the price has increased as well. I paid $90 for this. And you might ask me, what the heck were you doing, Grant? Well, it's a good game. It's a great system. Very enjoyable. I've enjoyed I think I played Tarawa. I played like a starting scenario and I got absolutely wiped out. Then I played a second scenario. This was 2 years ago. Did pretty well. And then I did play a third scenario where I actually got wiped out, had catastrophic losses, I think at the end of, I want to say, day 2. So I've enjoyed it. Very challenging, very difficult. These are not going to be easy games. And I find that to be one of the required mechanics that I'm looking for, or elements that I'm looking for when I look at a solitaire game. So let's go ahead and dispense with the talking. Once again, nice historical picture there on the cover. Pretty basic. You don't see a lot of flash. There's a look at the title. There's another picture there. And you can see the date, 19th of February, 1945 is highlighted. 2-inch box, and it is chock full. So the first thing you see, you got some baggies. I appreciate that. You're going to have quite a few counters. We'll look at those. There's some cards. We'll go over those here in just a moment. And here's the rules book. It's pretty thick, guys. Not going to lie, this is fairly rules intensive. But as you saw me just flipping through, there are really great examples of play. Like this is an example of how close combat works. And I find that very useful. Here's an example of an attack action. And then there's a lot of iconography. And then here's one of the most important parts. When you look at the map, your eyes are going to at first kind of freak out. But you'll notice there are these fields of fire, these different colors. So this yellow field of fire, you can see, encompasses about 15 hexes, and it is overlapping and with other fields of fire. Here's a red field of fire. This is a light blue field of fire. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that, because what happens, you'll notice these yellow emplacements where there are Japanese units, they are going to be able to fire on Marines within that area. You'll also notice these symbols. That stands for sustained fire, weak fire, etc. So there's a lot of those kind of elements, but it really is an excellent solitaire system. And when you look at the map is awesome, and you're going to kind of at first go, holy mackerel, what's going on with this? One of the other really cool parts about this game is it's an amphibious landing, so you're actually going to land your landing craft on the beaches. Now, here, the assault at Iwo Jima, historically, there wasn't a lot of resistance at the beginning. I think the Marines thought that the continual naval bombardment for a day or two had wiped many of the defenses out, but that wasn't the case, and they had it hard going after landing on the beaches. But here you can see, here's a landing procedure. Once again, a very good example, a color example. The rule book is 48 pages. Sorry, I turned that sideways. Here is one of the Japanese, it's a table summarizing the Japanese fire and action. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Here's a glossary, some of the event card descriptions, because there are cards. This is a totally diceless system. You're not going to roll a single dice in this. You're going to pull cards. So yeah, there's a look at the rule book. Really nice cover. I think it's a great looking rule book. They also, and I'm going to show you this, if I can find it. Here we go. Once again, one of the cool things Decision games, not Decision Point. They put in these historical designer notes, kind of a summary of the campaign. This one's called Black Sand, Red Blood, The Battle of Iwo Jima. It's by John Cecil. And you can see it's about, well, it's an extension of the rule book, but it comes in a separate, kind of like a magazine type element. And there's about 20 to 25 pages here. But you can see it's history. It's a discussion of the campaign, what it meant, some of the things that they learned. Here's a look at the map, showing the different Japanese defenses. Very well done. Here's a look at the commander of the Japanese forces, Kutabayashi. Kind of cool. And here's Mount Sutabachi, which is infamous, and we've all heard about that. But yeah, you can see, really cool. You can add some depth and flavor to your games by reading this and learning about what was going on. So a really cool thing. I loved reading the Tarawa one, and that battle is affectionately referred to as 1 square mile of hell. And I think that D-Day at Iwo Jima is very, very similar. Here are the combination of player aids and setup charts. And they are actually very thin paper. I wish they were a little thicker cardstock. They're not flimsy by any means, but they are not really sturdy. I would guess these are going to stand up over time, but they may get a little weathered and used. But this is a turn sequence track. You're just going to follow this and do what it says. For instance, you'll notice here it says first event card. You're literally going to lay this down, draw the first event, and play it over this section to let you know that you've done that. Then you got the Japanese fire card, second event, U.S. action phase, etc. Very good sequence of play. I found that when I played Tarawa, it was very self-explanatory, and you just have to play through it a couple of rounds to really get it. So that's one of the charts. Here is a holding display. It says U.S. Marine Corps step loss and unit holding display. So as your units take damage, you're going to take counters from here and sub them in for the units that have been injured. And you can see, remember I mentioned 3 Marine divisions. You've got the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. Here is also a turn record track and a U.S. record and Japanese record tracked. Geez, Grant. Here's some other charts and tables, fire chart, barrage results, etc. There's quite a few of them. Here is a look at the scenario setup. And once again, remember I mentioned that map, and this is not the map you're going to play on, but you'll notice, look at all those interlocking fields of fire and the colors that are used. Can be somewhat confusing, a little bit hard on the eyes. But yeah, this is a really great looking map. I think they've done a really, really good job. But this is the scenario setup display. It's going to show you where the Japanese units are to go. And then here are the landing beaches. You can see there's about 5 spots there. So that's another helpful card. Then you have terrain effects and here's another sequence of play. So I remember setting up Tarawa, kind of lining it up all together and thinking to myself, yeah, this is going to play really well, and it frankly did. It was very enjoyable. I don't know that the production value on these games are going to blow you away. The counters are nice, the board's nice, the rule book is nice looking. They are functional and well done. For instance, here's a close-up look at some of these American counters. They're very centered, very clear, not a lot of information. They do use NATO symbols. And then there's historical designations there. These are I'm going to go ahead and pop one out. They don't pop out extremely well, although that one did. You have to be careful. So if you get this, do not go gung-ho and try to rip those out. You will regret it. I will clip these with my Oregon Laminations 2.5mm Deluxe counter rounder or clipper, and they'll look really nice once I'm done. So there's a look at those counters. You've got 3 full counter sheets. You have 1.5 counter sheets of Americans. Here you go. These are actually administrative counters. Sorry. So 1 full sheet of American units. You have a half counter sheet of Japanese units. I'll give you a quick look. You have tanks, machine guns. The other really cool thing that I'll point out, I'm not going to go into great detail, but here's an engineer unit, right? And you'll see they have a couple of letters there. Here you have MO, BZ, FL, RD, MO, FL, BZ again, and then MG there. Those are references to what weapons those teams are carrying. Here's another example. CC, that means close combat. BZ means bazooka. MG obviously is machine gun. FT is, I believe it's flamethrower. And I can't remember what FL is, so I apologize. Or MO. You might be able to call those out and tell me what they are. But those are going to tell you what those units have. And certain formations, depending on what type of fortifications and defenses the Japanese have, if you do not have, say, a bazooka, you will not be able to damage the counters in that stack. So you've really got it. It's a combination of creating fire teams that have a good range of weapons, taking those fire teams to assault objectives that they match up with, and trying to do damage that way. It's really kind of a puzzle, and I really enjoyed that. Here's a look at the disrupted markers. A lot of the initial hits are disruptions, and then typically they'll then take reductions or eliminations after that. So there's just a look at those Japanese units. So once again, that's what you're going to need. Once again, CC is close combat. You're going to need to close combat those guys. So kind of cool. There's a look at those Japanese units. And then let's go back to the American units. So here's an example. This has FT, I think it's flamethrower, FT, and I can't remember what some of those, but anyway, that shows you certain units have certain of those heavy weapons. So yeah, nice looking counters. They're simple. They're not going to blow you away, but they are effective. I do like the heroism counters. You're going to, based on some card draws, sometimes you're going to make your players heroic. And I believe what it does is gives them alternative or additional activations, because you're only going to get a certain amount of activations per turn. So anyway, there's a look at those counters, and then you got a whole bunch of administrative counters. Step losses, reductions. There's some smoke counters, some garrison counters, and I think these garrison counters, yeah, I'm not really sure, but there is a form or a type of random reinforcements and random fortifications for the Japanese. I think you're going to roll on some or pull some cards and decide what is going to come in. There are caves. There you go. Look at those caves counters. You know, you can't have a Japanese defense of an island without some form of cave. So there's a look at the counters. So we're going to go ahead. We'll do the cards after we look at the map. We're going to go ahead and look at really the best part, the mounted map. And once again, I think the mounted map's really great. But I'm going to tell you, I thought the paper map was sufficient. I really did. I felt like it allowed the game to be played well. I would put it under plexi, and I thought it looked very good. We're going to get this turned up the right way. And I'm going to move this stuff over. And then I'll put some of the elements back on near the end so that you can get a look at that. But yes, it's a big map. And once again, it's pretty. It's, yeah, I'm gonna say I really like the mounted map. Haven't played on it yet, but I got to flatten it out, put some heavy books. You can see this is a huge map. I mean, it's big, guys. I'm going to go ahead and actually zoom back and get you a full shot of that. But there you go. That's a look at the D-Day at Iwo Jima map. You can see there's airfields there. There's various terrain. You've got the marine landing zones down here. And then, once again, remember I mentioned those interlocking fields of fire that you can see there that are identified. For instance, these are blue and purple. I'm going to go ahead and actually open the cards really quickly, just so I can show you what I'm talking about real quick. I'm gonna cut these. They're kind of packed. Dang it, they're hard to get open. But you know, frankly, I think this is a nice looking game. I think the production value is very solid. I don't know that it's flashy. I don't necessarily need flash. But it is cool. So I'm going to go ahead and real quick just show you these cards. So these are the action cards. You can see this is a brand new 2018 game. There are quite a few of these, and I'm going to flip them over. And I'm going to show you very briefly. Once again, this is not a rules discussion video, but you're going to use these cards. These are multi-use cards. They are used for landing operations. You can see there at the top. So each of the cards you can see have a landing direction. They're going to tell you, oh, you drift to the right, you take a hit, or you take fire from a certain area, etc. I think if your landing craft are destroyed, typically you can then wade in. But once again, I don't know exactly how that works in this version. But then you'll notice in the middle, here are the events. Remember I talked about events earlier. It's going to be based on the day and the round. So this event, if you pull this event and it is day 2, round 19 or later, you're going to be able to use this event, etc. And it'll tell you what's going to go on. This one says all Japanese depth. So that's going to tell you that you're going to put an additional depth counter underneath these Japanese units. Oh, and by the way, you don't know, those are hidden units. You see a Japanese counter, but you do not know whether it is a tank or a bazooka team or an MG team. They are hidden. They have a depth counter underneath them, and that's how you reduce them and destroy them eventually. But that's a look at some of those events. And now the best part, or I think really neat, and then here also is the close combat, because you're going to draw a certain amount of these cards for close combat, and then that's going to happen. Here it says U.S. withdrawal hit. So in close combat, if the Japanese have that card, you're going to withdraw and take a hit. So here is the major part of the game. These colored squares, when you pull that card over for the Japanese fire, it's going to tell you that orange, I think I positions, so you're going to look around the board. Here's some I positions right here, are going to fire. Red A's are going to fire. So you got to find the red A's down here, and then blue, and then the triangle. So that you'll see there's all different types. So that is the firing orders for the solitaire AI. That's how you're going to determine what is going to happen. That's obviously a tank, a red tank. So very cool. You're going to play through this deck, and I believe it's every round you're going to play through until you're done with them, and then you're going to reshuffle them. But that's kind of a very quick look at the system. Like I mentioned, I think the system is really very cool. I think it's well designed. I think it has a lot of neat elements and makes for, honestly, a very engaging and fun playing game. I've enjoyed my plays, once again, of D-Day at Tarawa. So guys, that's a look. I wanted to open this one up because it's pretty cool. You know, that's a look at all the charts, the tables, the different information that you're going to find when you purchase your copy of D-Day at Iwo Jima. It's a nice looking game on a very neat and very interesting subject. Definitely is one that I'm interested in. I've always been taken by the Pacific theater of World War II. I've enjoyed the Americans and their battles with the Japanese. I own several games, and this will be another one added to my collection. I am not a serious or hardcore solitaire gamer. I prefer interaction. I prefer the back and forth and the smarts or intelligence that comes with an AI or not a human opponent. But I'm going to tell you, this is a game that I will break out on a Sunday afternoon. I'll play it for 3 or 4 hours. I will feel very fulfilled and have enjoyed myself. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to play this one time. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it in a video. Once again, I don't know that I'm going to go into every element. And then what I would like to do is do a couple rounds worth of a playthrough. I don't think I can sit here and play an entire scenario. It would be a 3 or 4 hour video, and most of you would not watch. But I am going to do that. I'm going to play it once. I'm going to do a very quick video, give you my review thoughts, what I liked, what I didn't like, some of the new stuff immediately. And then what I would like to do is set up a second time and try to videotape at least, I'm going to say 2, maybe 3 full rounds. Video will probably be 30 to 45 minutes. So that's a look at D-Day at Iwo Jima from Decision Games, fresh off their pre-order, and a game that I just bought at Origins last weekend. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. If you want to find further information, please visit our written blog, thePlayersAid.com, and you can get session reports, in-depth reviews, strategy articles, designer interviews, as well as some other videos, etc. So check it out, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. I'm Grant for The Player's Aid.